Is board gaming in your nature? Are you an animal at the game table? Do you have mountains of games in your collection? Is your primary habitat being filled with wooden bits and cardboard? Well, this episode is for you.
Welcome to episode 286 of the Tabletop Bellhop Gaming Podcast, where we're going to be sharing our favorite nature-themed board games and deep diving two of those with detailed reviews. So those will be Hutan, Life in the Rainforest, and Gnome Hollow.
We're also going to talk a bit about the latest public play event that we hosted, where we were joined by a rep from Outset Media, and, of course, talk about the games that we've been playing lately.
First, we should introduce ourselves. I'm Sean, and with me is our Deanna.
Hello to all the Bellhop boarders.
And, of course, Mo, the Tabletop Bellhop himself.
I am Mo Tuzano, the Tabletop Bellhop, your cardboard concierge, helping you make your game nights better.
We like to record Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern and live at twitch.tv/tabletopbellhop. And we love it when people join us in the lobby, our chat room here on Twitch.
Okay, now on to some housekeeping. First up, disclosure. Wherever you're watching or listening to this, any links you see are most likely affiliate links. Whenever you use one of our affiliate links, it costs you nothing extra and helps to support the show. Speaking of supporting the show, I'd like to point out that this episode exists because of the support of our awesome Patreon patrons. And finally, I want to remind folks that you can find links to absolutely everything we talk about in this episode over in our show notes. So if you're listening and you're thinking, how do you spell that? Or what was that game that they mentioned? It is all in the show notes. Just head over to tabletopbellhop.com/episode 286.
The Tabletop Bellhop team is here to answer your gaming and game night questions. Tonight, that question is, what are some of the best nature-themed board games?
I love it. This is just a cool topic that kind of came to us the other day when we were talking. We were sitting over breakfast, and I'm like, immediately, we were playing a nature-themed game at the time. We were playing Hutan, and we were like, man, you know, I don't think we've ever talked about before is nature-filled games and games about nature or animal games. And we're like, I couldn't believe how many games just like immediately popped into my head. And like, by the time we got up from the table, I think we had listed 25 or 30 games that we could think of off the top of our head. So when we got home, I'm like, oh man, we got all kinds of stuff to talk about. It's going to be hard to narrow this down. And then Deanna came upstairs with a list of games from the basement that were specifically just about growing things, not even nature. And it was a significant list. And I'm like, oh, but I want to include some other stuff. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of good nature games out there. And I was kind of surprised. And this is just limiting things. And what we'll be talking about tonight are games we own and really enjoy. And I know there's a bunch more out there we haven't even played.
Yeah, I literally walked around and came up with a list, I think, of 12 games that were specifically about growing things in nature, right? And you're like, that's not really what I was thinking. I was thinking nature in general. And I was like, oh man, we've got a list of like 50 things then. We're going to have to narrow it down a bit.
Well, as the world around us gets a little crazy, it's always nice to return to nature, to the peace and tranquility of growing plants or even having some wild animals come around.
Now, in general, we kind of looked at all nature games. Maybe we should have stuck to here's 8 great games about growing things, but we did broaden the topic here because there were some games I just didn't want to leave out that didn't quite have growing. And I'm like, no, I need to highlight this game. So we did kind of broaden up. Now, what we did do is we are going to stay away from farming games because farming games are a thing. They're kind of like train games. There are so many board games about farming. And to me, that's a totally different topic. So we're looking at nature games, excluding farming games. If you want us to talk about the best farming games, send something to questions@tabletopbellhop.com and say, I do want to know what your favorite farming games are. And maybe we'll cover that on a later episode.
Well, as usual, this list is in no particular order. But first up, we're going to start with a new op game. Just out this year, Hutan, Life in the Rainforest, with art by Vincent Dutray.
So we just played this one yesterday, so it's pretty fresh in my mind. So it was definitely the first thing that came to mind when we chose this topic. Hutan is a quick-playing family weight game where you're drafting flowers. You place the flowers on your board while trying to fill up variously shaped habitats. And whenever you get a stack of 2 flowers, it grows into a tree. And you want to fill each area with trees to attract animals. That's the base game. There's also optional endgame scoring cards that you can throw in for a slightly heavier experience. I really dig this game. It's just quick, lightweight game with great pacing. It's great for folks who enjoy lighter fare or if you're in the mood to hang out and have a chat while you're playing. It's also got decent table presence, really leaning into the nature rainforest theme with cool 3D trees and chunky animal meeples.
One of the things I thought was pretty cool about this is it comes with a bunch of different trees and there's no reason for it. And I always kind of appreciate that extra step that makes your forest and habitat look unique and different. There's no reason for it, because I was worried when we were putting the game together that every tree was going to need for a different player. And I'm so glad you just tossed them all.
Oh, please don't make me sort trees.
Yes, exactly.
This
one's fantastic. We have been having a lot of fun with this game. When I first played it, I sat down and played 5 games in a row. I don't do that. I don't tend to play the same game 5 times in a row. This is a fantastic, welcoming game. I have many good things to say about this game, and we're going to talk about it later in the show when we get to our review section, and you can learn more about Hutan.
I think one of the great things about this game is that for this theme, it really does handle a lot of natures with flowers and trees and biomes and islands and lakes and rivers and streams and animals. It really is encompassing sort of a holistic view of nature as opposed to some of the other ones, which are a little more narrow focused. We've got a quirky midweight game here from Amon Anderson that just came out last year, and that is the nature of mushrooms and gnomes in Gnome Hollow.
Yeah, this is a game about collecting wildflowers, growing mushroom rings, collecting those mushrooms, and then trading them in for trinkets at the Pinwheel Market. This has just got a neat feel to it, and I love the way the board grows as you play. And there's a nice touch of the rule book being written like a nature guide from someone who was just out looking at flowers and suddenly saw some gnomes and started like writing about gnomes and their society. Yeah, okay, it's got some fantasy elements and it's a bit of a gardening game, really. But to me, this just really feels like a nature game, like you're collecting mushrooms and growing mushrooms, and different mushrooms have different values. I really dig this game. It looks amazing. It has great table presence, and it's easy to learn while still having surprising depth. And it's one of those games where I'm like, I think new gamers are going to dig it because it's easy to learn. And I think experienced gamers, heavy gamers, are going to dig it because of that depth.
And so many mushrooms, so many cute mushrooms. And the whole goal of the game is to make mushroom rings. How can that not be nature?
And flowers as well. Now, going back a bit further, we have the 2023 Meeple's Choice Award winner, Earth, from Canadian publisher Inside Up Games.
So Earth is a big deck engine building game where everyone is trying to build their own nature tableau. Players take turns using a I choose you follow mechanic. You lay out flora cards, attract fauna, and build your own ecosystem. This is an utterly delightful game. I would play this all day, any day. The card artwork is all photographs. It feels like you're playing inside an encyclopedia. There are all kinds of clever card synergies going on. The way things interact and grow, the nature theme, it doesn't feel pasted on. No. You are not going to forget that what's going on here involves trees and mushrooms and glaciers and wildflowers.
Yeah, Earth is a game that scared me. It looked big and intimidating. And I know it's a cliche, but it's one of those, it's not as hard as it looks. There's only 4 different actions in the game. They're all really quick to learn. And like some are just draw cards. So like the actual real action in the game is using the plant action to put cards in your tableau and the interaction between the cards. This is a great one for fans of other big deck engine builders like Terraforming Mars, with a little more down to earth.
And there's some neat things going on there where your discarded cards are actually like compost that you use to grow things. So, I mean, it really leans in on the nature theme again.
All right, well, next up we have Photosynthesis, The Reason Plants Are Green from Blue Orange Games, a winner of multiple production value and presentation awards.
So this is a surprisingly cutthroat game about mean trees being mean to other trees, where everyone is competing to get the most sun. And the reason I say mean is because a big part of this game is to grow in such a way that your opponents are left in your shade and thus don't grow as tall. This is another game that went on Deanna's like growth list. This is a game that feels like growing because you put out tiny seeds, and then the tiny seeds are small trees and they get to be bigger trees and bigger trees and bigger trees. But that's only if they're in the sun. And this game has a neat mechanic where it's kind of like a hexagonal board, and the sun rotates around the board so that different parts of the game, different areas of the board are lit. Note there's no actual light. This is just like a big cardboard disc you're moving around. But I have seen people upgrade theirs with a copy with flashlights or whatever, so you actually get the nice feel. This game is just neat. It's a cool thematic game and surprisingly cutthroat. Like it's almost a take that game about trees.
And visually, this is one of those games that brings people over from across the room to see what's going on if you play it in public, because it just looks neat with all these different heights of trees and things going on there. Though I will say, it's not as uncommon. Well, we just played Hutan, also 3D trees. I feel like 3D trees are becoming more common than they were when this one came out.
All right, well, next up we have Harmonies from Libelud, currently the #3 abstract game over on Board Game Geek and a Spiel recommended game.
This is a tile drafting game where you're building a landscape and creating habitats for animals. And there was a lot of buzz around this one when it came out last year, and it was well justified.
Mhm.
It's light to medium weight. Like I would say Hutan is lighter, and you can easily play in under an hour. At its core, this is pattern building with cute, almost picture book-esque animal artwork for the cards, and it's a solid nature-themed game.
My favorite thing about Harmonies is the way your board looks at the end of the game. You literally have a 3D landscape in front of you. Especially if you get a river going down the middle, it just looks awesome with lots of mountains and trees. The mechanics in here are excellent. It's got the draft house from the market thing from games like Azul. And there's actually an advanced mode where it makes scoring asymmetric, which is actually a nice addition to the game that gets it more to that medium weight. The base game, definitely light, whereas you throw that in there and you've upped the weight that little bit, and it's totally optional. This is a game that has been extremely popular at our public play events. Like one of those, I think the only reason it didn't get played at our last event is it was a Halloween themed event, so we didn't bring it.
It's true, we didn't bring it last month. Yeah, it almost looks like a topographical map when you're done.
All right, well, next up, is nature biology? Is biology nature? Well, we've got Genotype, a Mendelian genetics game from Genius Games, who publish a lot of different nature and biology themed games, and this is our personal favorite of the bunch.
Yeah, this is a game about growing peas. Like, can you get even more dull? Now this sounds like a farming game, but it's not actually. It's a worker placement game about Mendelian genetics, where you're breeding different pea plants, trying to find and grow and recognize various traits on the plants. And you are enlisting the help of various monks. You're upgrading your lab. You're purchasing tools to be able to do more things at once. This is an interesting game because it's for a nature theme, because it's actually about understanding nature and witnessing it and doing experiments. And in this particular case, it uses dice to represent the randomness of mutations. And I think that's really fascinating. This is a really solid Euro game that I just enjoy playing as a game. And it just happens to be educational. Like that's just the added bonus. You could use this in a classroom, a science classroom. Meanwhile, it's just a great game. It's so enjoyable.
All right, well, going way back now, 14 years even, Takanoko from Bombix and Matago has many varied awards in its pocket after all these years.
Takanoko is a game about bamboo and a panda that really likes to eat it. It's a light action selection set collection game with a cute theme. The game has fantastic components, like there are these colorful wooden bamboo sprouts that you stack up as the plants grow, and you end up with a pretty neat looking board. Mo and I debated, it borders on being a farmer game because there's irrigation and you're growing bamboo and there's a gardener wandering around, but it doesn't feel like a farming game to me.
Yeah, I think the argument is that it's the gardener trying to keep the panda away from the bamboo that's kind of growing on its own. I don't know. To me, it feels like a nature game. You definitely have that feeling of growth. You literally are watching the bamboo grow every turn when new cards are revealed. So I don't know. I think it fits nature. There's a panda. Pandas are cute. There's lots of expansions. You can get baby pandas. I think it works.
All right, well, Parks from Keymaster is now on its improved 2nd edition, which includes the best of the best expansion content, some new stuff, and a more streamlined experience.
So this is an interesting one because it's not a game where you're playing or building the nature, which all the other games have some element of that to it, right? Like you're building environments or you're building biomes. This is on the opposite. This is about appreciating nature. This is a game about going hiking, going camping. You have 2 campers and you're trying to visit as many of the 63 US national parks as possible. It uses a neat time track mechanic where kind of like Tokaido, where the person who's in last place gets to move. But then if they go too far down the track, yes, they might get what they want, but then they miss out on other things. You're going to be balancing collecting various resources, taking photos, encountering wildlife, upgrading your gear, of course, tracking your water, and choosing when to go to sleep for the night in camp. Now, we actually got to play this thanks to Keymaster Game at Gamma Expo, and it is just a really elegant system with beautiful artwork. It's all new art, now features every single one of the current U.S. national parks.
Yeah, this is one I'd really love to get to the table again, and I thought it was pretty cool how the new edition features all 63 national parks with an illustration for each one. And the card art is great. It's got this kind of classic travel poster look to it. It's just very engaging.
Well, Reef is another Spiel recommended abstract strategy game from Next Move Games. Now, this one was given a second edition as well with new art and coloring.
So in Reef, you're growing a coral reef and you get to literally build a reef out of these chunky plastic pieces. So it's got this nice tactile thing going on. Each round, you draft a card that has you adding 2 pieces to your reef, and then you score points based on the current state of your reef. It's just a nice lightweight game, and we've had a lot of fun playing it over the years.
The pieces in this, like until you see them, they look like play school, like kids' toys, like baby toys or preschooler toys. These chunky pieces of reef, but they're in like cool colors and shapes. And the game just has a fantastic table presence. This is one that sometimes can scare people away because it looks too kiddie, but then once you play, you realize there's a lot of strategy and planning involved in this game.
I am certain they're a choking hazard. Do not give them to preschoolers.
All right, well, next we have Dominant Species, possibly, almost certainly, the heaviest game on our list from GMT, which won multiple awards back when it came out in 2010 or 2011.
So, yeah, most of the games we talked about tonight are on the lighter side, many being awesome, welcoming games, which is great. Actually, I think one of the reasons is nature is such an accessible theme that it fits well for an accessible game. If you want something that kind of appeals to everyone, nature is a great theme. Well, this is a game that proves that not all nature games are quick to learn, fast-playing family games. Dominant Species is a cutthroat, heavy worker placement game from GMT, all about ensuring your species is the one to best adapt to a coming ice age. This is one of those meaty games where you plan an evening around it that can take quite a bit of time to play, especially if you don't play it regularly. Just talking about this game, I'm like, can we plan a Dominant Species night sometime next week? Because I love this game.
All right, well, next we have Arboretum from Renegade Game Studios, a UK Games Expo Best Strategic Card Game Judge's Choice.
So Arboretum is a pretty simple card game. Like, I feel like this is a great introduce this to your non-gamer friends sort of game. It's a tree-themed card game that combines set collection, tile laying, and hand management. You play cards to create sets of trees, but then you only score them if you have the highest value of that suit in your hand at the end of the game. And the cards have lovely tree artwork, and it definitely fits our nature theme.
I'm actually going to disagree with Deanna on this one. I do not think this is a non-gamer game. This is a gamer's card game for people who like strategy and card counting. Arboretum, to me, is one of the heavier card games we actually have in our collection, in my opinion. There is some hard strategies in this game because of the way the timing works, where you're playing your cards, but you also have to manage your hand to make sure you're scoring the right ones. And then it also has the rule kind of like in Stratego, where the lowest tree beats the highest tree. So there's a bit of that going on and trying to bluff and predict from your opponents. While the basic rules might be pretty simple, I think this is a heavier one.
Okay, see, and Board Game Geek agrees with you. It rates a 2.11, which isn't light. I don't know, it just feels light to me, and like I want to sit down non-gamers and say, play this one.
I have literally seen this one fail at our public play events trying to introduce people who are like, I like poker.
All right, well, next up we have Endangered from our previous sponsor, Grand Gamers Guild. This one has a new expansion, Endangered Australia, that just funded on Kickstarter, and as of recording, late backing is still available.
Yeah, this is one of, I don't know if I can say ours, if I can talk for the other two people here on the show, but at least for me, one of my favorite cooperative games. The theme is awesome. You are trying to protect different endangered species. Unfortunately, the base game only comes with 2, but it does have tigers and sea otters, so you got Sean's favorite animal in there. But there are various official and fan-made expansions. The first big box expansion has, I think, 7 new scenarios. There's also small promos like the butterflies, and the fan community for this game has created all kinds of awesome stuff. Now, gameplay-wise, this is an asymmetric, dice-based worker placement game that also involves card play. And what I find fascinating in this game is many of your cards are adding new worker placement spots that all the players can use. The dice system is very clever with not being able to bump dice and then trying to decide the turn order. And then there's a whole thing where you're trying to get the UN or I think it's the UN. You're basically trying to lobby and try to get them to put conservation laws into play for your various species. It's a clever and I would say poignant game. And I love how different the scenarios are. Like the otters compared to, the butterflies in particular, you literally use a drop table where you're dropping butterflies to represent the chaotic nature of their movements.
I love the theming. I love that it's getting people thinking about endangered species, and I love how each species feels very different when you play it. It's still a co-op game, but they do some great things to try and eliminate quarterbacking, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think to me, the really standout function and feature of this game is just how different it can feel with every species you're engaging with. While the core mechanics, the UN is always the same, the worker placement cards are generally the same, the dice, those things are all the same. The difference in what happens with the animals and how the animals react and move and breed and all the different things about each specific animal really gives it a hugely different feel every time you sit down with a different animal. All right. So next up we have Finspan. Now this is the third game, this time with an aquatic theme in the Span series from Stonemaier Games.
So I feel like Finspan is the most streamlined of the games in the Wingspan lineup. It takes that basic gameplay where you're either playing a card to your tableau or you're activating a set of cards, and it streamlines it. It's quicker to learn and quicker to play than the previous Span games, and it still feels really thematic. You're playing as a marine researcher who's diving down and looking at various fishies. It's just a slick little game.
Yeah, one of the things I really like in this version compared to the others is the removal of having to collect various different resources to play your cards. In this, it does the multi-use card thing where your cards are resources, and you, in general, to play most fish, just have to discard cards or maybe fish or eggs that are already in play. And it's just way easier to get stuff in play. And it also decreases the randomness. There's no dice tower to worry about or having to hope you get the right food available. And I really like that part going away so I can focus more on building an engine from my columns in this particular game, my columns of fish, so that I can make neat scoring opportunities and, produce lots of eggs and hatch a bunch of the eggs and form some schools and move stuff around and try to set up on my end game scoring. I was extremely impressed by Finspan. And to be honest, it's not even a game I was excited about when it was announced. I did like Wormspan quite a bit, but I got to say, Finspan to me is the best of the bunch.
Yeah, it's interesting how I think Wingspan kind of sort of came out of nowhere as it's just a game about birds, and it went wild. Wormspan took that concept, changed it up a little bit, and introduced it to all the fantasy dragon lovers. And now they've done it again with Finspan, updating the game again, making changes so that it is a different game, making it a little easier, more approachable, and hooking in all the fish lovers. Who knows what they're going to do next?
And I will admit, all three games are not replacements for each other, and they are all very different from each other despite having that same core mechanic. And they're worth owning them all if you do enjoy the series of games.
All right, well, next up, we've got this year's Kennerspiel winner, considered by most hobby gamers to be the most prestigious reward out there. That's Endeavor Deep Sea.
So yeah, I guess we'll stick to the aquatic theme. This is a game about conservation that features no plastic at all, yet still includes like silkscreen components and very functional box insert made out of the stuff called Bagasse. You have to touch it to see it. Very well produced. They even wrapped it in paper, like brown paper, if you buy this game instead of shrink wrap. So they not only made a game about conservation, they actually made some efforts to make it as eco-friendly as possible, which I dig. Even better than that, though, this game's just fantastic. This is the game that really gives you a feel of exploring the sea. You're spreading outward and deeper. You're expanding your research team each time. You're publishing papers to unlock abilities. You're helping endangered species to earn points. You're checking out dive sites and more. The game comes with, I don't remember the number anymore, like 13 or 12 different scenarios you can play. And every single one of them can be played either cooperatively or competitively, which is just a ridiculous amount of replayability. And I liked both types of play. Like they were both good. The cooperative played very different than the competitive while still using the same mechanics, and both were enjoyable. I know a lot of games that try to do both and don't do it as well. Endeavor nails it.
It's just a solid game. Like, this game's a 10, and it manages to capture that feeling of discovery. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of this one until the last minute. We added it in at last minute because it didn't come to mind until I was thinking, oh, Finspan, you go diving. Do you know where else you go diving? How the heck did I not think of Endeavor?
All right, well, we're going to finish up with 3 honorable mentions.
All right, this is a big one. I'm actually kind of surprised that someone hasn't shouted it out to us. I'm going to start with Ark Nova, a game we need to play. This one's on our pile of shame, and it really seems to be a shame because this showed up on everyone else's top nature games list, often at the very top or bottom if they're counting down. Everyone seems to recommend this game. Everyone seems to love it. Almost every game we mentioned tonight was not nominated for or won multiple awards. None of them come even close to the number of awards Ark Nova has won. This is another big deck engine builder, kind of like your Terraforming Mars or most on our list tonight, Earth. But this one's about building a zoo, and it looks fantastic. Like, we need to play this game.
All right, well, just called out in the chat, and up now, Cascadia is a very similar in theme to Harmonies, which we have already called out. It's about creating ecosystems, including drafting tiles and wildlife tokens. It has almost as many accolades as Ark Nova, and we've recently seen it played multiple times by different groups at our Walkerville game nights. But sadly, none of us have actually tried it ourselves.
And I want to call out Honeybuzz, a worker bee placement game where you play a colony of bees, building a hive to create different types of honey, and then selling it to woodland creatures. And, well, not true to nature. I mean, the entire premise of the game is that the bees have decided to sell the honey. The game does have a number of neat thematic elements and features really top-notch components, especially if you go in for the upgrade kits. Like the little honey tokens are super neat.
Yeah, and those come in the base game. It's made of like a weird material that kind of feels like honey, but isn't sticky. It looks like it should be sticky. Those are actually a base game component. I was so happy to hear that. And this one actually has an expansion. And the one, we played a demo of this. We didn't play a full game. We actually got to see the Harvest expansion with little apples and stuff like that. So it's a game on my wish list. And I know people are going to go like Elf Creek Games is gone, but no, Genius Games has actually picked up this game. Has picked up the license to Honeybuzz. So it should, if it's not available now, it will be back in print soon.
And Red Meeple Ryan in the chat is saying Honeybuzz, but not Waggle Dance. I've never played Waggle Dance. I know nothing about it. So
yes, Waggle Dance is a game about bees and how they communicate by waggling their little bums. It's about all I know about the game. I know it is fairly well regarded when it came out.
That's cool.
And then I know JB Stegmeyer also has Apiary, which is a game about bees in space, but I have no idea how tied to nature that actually is.
And I know the Waggle Dance was actually redone, so I think they sort of took the original concept and they rebuilt it in 2022 with a whole new
dance routine.
Yeah, something like that. Alrighty. So we haven't had too much action in the chat, but I want to call out Slurgical, one of our new viewers, was talking about how they haven't played any of the current and modern nature games, but they like the tactile and terrain games. Those games that make you feel more immersed by having trees or land masses or things to touch and feel like a part of nature.
Chunky reef pieces.
Yes.
And I got to admit, going to tabletop wargaming, my favorite thing to do back in the Warhammer days was actually make scenery until you finish the scenery and realize you have nowhere to store it.
Mm. Also, Ryan's pointing out that Ark Nova is a zoo game, which is almost its own topic, much like farming, I guess, could be. So we could do a whole zoo game topic as well.
I don't think I own enough zoo games or played enough zoo games to do that one justice. But it might be an excuse to play Ark Nova. There you have our list of our favorite nature-themed games. What about you? What are your favorite games featuring landscapes, plants, animals, conservation, growing things, observing nature, nature photography? I know there's a game out there called Redwood, all about nature photography, but I haven't played it to add it on the list tonight. I want to know what nature-themed games we should be checking out next.
Speaking of nature, one of our favorite bits of flora is the amazing coffee, coffea plant, which produces the wonderful coffee berry, which when roasted, ground, and brewed, leads to our favorite beverage of all time. We love coffee, and one of the best ways to support this show and other content creation efforts is to buy us a coffee at tabletopbellhop.com/coffee. Welcome to the Bellhop's Tabletop, where we talk about the games we've been playing and other cool stuff going on.
All right, we're going to start with the cool gaming stuff that was going on, with a huge thank you to Outset Media Games for sending us George. They sent one of their reps down to take part in our most recent Brews and Board Games game night at the Walkerville Brewery, and it was awesome. This was one of our most energetic and enthusiastic events we've had. Like, people were just into it. While we didn't have record numbers due to construction in the area, last minute construction, we did end up getting like 70 folks out. I counted at one point, and I may have missed some, and some people might have left and came in later. And just everyone who came out just like was into it. Like, I don't know, it's because we did a horror theme night and there were Halloween games. We even had some people in cosplay. Like, people were out to game, and they weren't like looking lost. They were like, go to the table, grab a game. Can you find someone to teach me this? Let's go. Like, I don't know, the vibe was fantastic. Every single person I talked to that night loved the event. And I don't know if you've done it yet, but we got a bunch of feedback forms. I know I haven't seen those yet. Have you gone through those, Dee?
Actually, we didn't get that many feedback forms from that night, maybe 2. And no, that's not right. That's not right. Back it up. More like 5. But all people did was, because it was divided in 2 columns, and you could write what games you played and if you had anything you really liked or didn't like about the event. And everyone that filled out the forms just wrote down what games they played. That was it.
Oh,
and they're
that's
like,
useful.
And then the one person that did write down under the what I liked about it just rated how they liked those games that they played. Yeah. I liked this one. I liked this one. This one was so. And I was like, not what I was expecting. Okay.
All right. Well, the one problem with publishers sending us reps is we don't get to keep them or give them away. They have to go back. So
yes.
We did get
true.
Surprised with that massive traffic issue that no one knew about until the night before. So we did have to scramble to keep people informed on how to get there. But despite that, I think it was still a roaring success. And I feel like George was pretty happy with the representation that Outset Media got.
Yeah, when we found out about that road closure, like, I panicked. I thought no one's going to come because no one's going to be able to get within 2 blocks of the place. So I'm really glad that we had the turnout that we did. And yeah, the vibe was awesome.
It was. Yeah, so like we did a horror theme menu because it's our only October event we were hosting at Walkerville, so we wanted to do something. But we did actually throw in a bunch of our favorite Outset Media games, especially the ones that fit the theme, which was Cadaver and Psychobabble. And then to supplement that, George brought down a bag of games, including 5-Minute Mystery, 5-Minute Dungeon, Feed the Kraken, Die Laughing. And then he also had some awesome stuff to give away, which were some small spooky card games and some of the Cobble Hill puzzles. And then one of the licensed versions of Monopoly, Boo-opoly, he actually had with him as well. So I thought it was awesome that George joined in with the theme of the night, not only just like showing off Outset's games, but like their games that fit the theme, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I had fun going back and forth with him in email before the event, and looking at the Outset Media catalog, not calendar, and trying to figure out like what games would fit for. I'm like, well, I know we actually have a theme this month. It's going to be Halloween, so what should we go with here, and what's going to be great for this group, right? Like, people tend to want lighter games at our events. So the ones that he brought were like bang on.
Yeah, I think George definitely got his steps in for sure, trying to teach the various tables, playing all those games. Thankfully, some folks there were already familiar with some of them and didn't need to teach when showing off the game to their friends that they already understood.
And big thanks to those folks. We always appreciate when people are willing to grab a group and teach a game, to give us a chance to interact with the people who don't have that kind of guidance at the table or experience. That's always a huge benefit to us.
Yeah, I noticed lots of regulars stepping up and teaching games to both friends and strangers, so that was very cool. So yeah, we had a bunch of raffles for door prizes because George, as Mo mentioned, brought goodies from Outset to give away. And I got to walk around and play raffle ticket fairy all night. And whenever I spotted someone that was teaching a game, I was like, hey, you're doing extra awesome. You're teaching a game. You're even teaching a game to strangers. You get a bonus raffle ticket. So I gave away more than a few because there was definitely a bunch of game teachers on hand, which I love because I don't always like teaching games. Mo does. I do not. So, and we had George there to teach games. So I was off the hook a lot that evening, which is good because I didn't know enough of the Halloween games to teach.
Yeah, like other games we brought Halloween stuff from our own collection was the Night Cage from Smirk and Dagger was probably one of the most popular games. Once it got out, and I think people saw other people playing, it just kept going out. The only problem with that one is it's got a longer teach, so I was tied up teaching that a lot of the night. We had Click Clack Lumberjack set up, and that was drawing laughs most of the night. That was a good group game. Monster Factory, which is actually like a kids game we bought our kids years ago from Rio Grande, was a surprise hit. Like all kinds of groups were playing that. I like to see there was a big group playing Skull. They hit the max player count, which was kind of nice. And then that same group moved on to This Game is Killer, and we're doing good with that. I know Gwen taught Hex Effects a few times. What did you guys see that went out pretty often?
I was amused because I talked you into bringing Click Clack Lumberjack because it has an axe in it.
Yes.
Yeah, I was really glad to see Nyctophobia out because that one has made people squeamish in the past. They've sort of gotten it to the table and then realized what it was going to be like and backed away and put it back on the table. So it was great to see out. As well, we had Monstrosity, which is always great with families at those events. And Catch the Moon and Boop just never really fail. Although we should get a copy of Boop for the Halloween event.
Yeah, we totally should. I think the group that played Nyctophobia really enjoyed it. And that is such a unique out-of-the-box game. I'm always so excited to show it to more people. And it's out of print now. You can't get it, right? So I loved having the Halloween-themed menu as an excuse to showcase it and some of these older games that we don't take out as often. Like even the Night Cage. There was a while there where we were bringing that one out every month, and then it just kind of, we replaced it with other stuff. So it hadn't been out in a while, and it was nice to get the Night Cage out again. So again, the Halloween theme, it was a fun excuse.
So I did learn something amusing about Nyctophobia I did not consider. It is not a great game to bring out at a restaurant/pub where we're trying to encourage people to buy food and drink because blind people wearing blackout glasses don't get to drink and eat the food.
And it's not a quick game.
No. All right. So again, thanks Outset Media for being part of this. It was awesome. What I want to do now, I don't know how many publishers actually listen to our podcast. I know there's some of you out there. But George, like Sean said, seemed pretty happy with this event and the exposure Outset got. So this is an open invite to the publishers who listen to our show. Like if you want to come down and take part in one of our local game nights, we would love to have you. Like I think this went fantastic and was beneficial for both of us. It was a really fun night. If you are interested, I think your best bet's talk to Deanna. That's DEANNA at tabletopbellhop.com, and we'll work something out.
Just remember, whoever you send down, I better have comfortable shoes because they're going to be on their feet all night.
Way to scare them off, Sean.
All right, away from events onto games we played. Unfortunately, it's going to be me talking for most of this because I'm the one that got the most gaming in this week, which is odd. Just me. So I've been playing around with Pocketbook Adventures more while waiting for people at various appointments, still digging it. I still recommend that game. It's a lot of fun for when you got to waste time in the car. Also spent the day out with Eve, our youngest kid. They got me an early Christmas gift, which was tickets to the Music of Star Wars by the Windsor Symphony Orchestra. And we decided to make a day of it, including some gameplays at one of our favorite local cafes. That basically boiled down to a ton of Hutan. I had brought multiple games, but we took that game out. We punched it before leaving, thankfully, because that would have been a bit of a mess with all those trees. Trying the basic rules, then moving on to the advanced scoring cards. And like we played multiple times in a row at this coffee shop, just hammering through them. And man, that game is lightning fast with two people. Now, Sean and I'm kind of jumping ahead timeline wise, also played a couple rounds of this just yesterday. We mentioned it earlier. We're going to be reviewing it later. So all I want to say here is this is the kind of game that I expect from the op. To me, it's an op game. It's a quick to learn, easy to play with enough going on to keep you challenged. I dig it a lot.
Yeah, so stick around to catch all of our thoughts about Don Hutan after the reviews or during the reviews.
Next open, I cracked open a $5 game that we were sent from Solus Game Studios called the Massiverse Fighting Card Game Starter Pack, which is part of an entire line of superhero battling card games called the Massiverse. Now, the starter pack includes two characters, two Image Comics characters, Radiant Black and Premier. I admit I have no idea who they are. The last Image comic I read was Spawn, and it was new at the time, so that goes back. This is a small deck card game with a kind of rock, paper, scissors thing going on. that reminded me a lot of Curie the Duel, which we've talked about in the past. Each player gets a hero ultimate ability and ongoing power card that goes face up. Then you get a hand of action cards. Each player picks a card out of their hand, puts it face down, you flip and compare. First thing you check is to see if one of the cards counters the other. If it's not canceled, the effect on the card happens and damage is dealt. Then both cards are what they call exhausted, but basically put in a pile where you can't use them. Each player has a rest card. So to get the cards back into their hand, they have to play their rest card. But then every opponent also has like a weapon card. It's a red card. And if you happen to time it right, so you play your weapon when your opponent's resting, you automatically defeat them. You only have 10 health. It's the first to KO your opponent that wins. And then there's also a system of energy that activates that ongoing and special power that you have put aside. And it's kind of neat because when you unlock your power, you just add the card to your hand. And I thought that was actually a kind of neat mechanic for a small deck card game. Now, the gameplay comes from how everyone's deck's different. Now, I've only seen 2 of the decks, and it's all about learning what card counters what and trying to predict what your opponent's going to play based on what you know. And there's kind of that escalation feel because like your first card play, you're kind of like, they got a whole hand, I got a whole hand, who knows? But as they play cards like, oh, they played their green, there's no point in me trying to counter green because I know they played green. And you do a little bit of card counting there, and it actually gets more strategic or more tactical probably. Tactical is probably more like it. You're reacting as the game goes on. Now, Eve really enjoyed this. I thought it was quite neat. No, it's no Magic the Gathering overpower or dueling card game with a, deck building or any of that. But like, it's simple, plays in like 5 to 10 minutes. And honestly, $5, like for $5, I think it's actually quite a bit of game for that price.
So this is actually a implementation or an overlay on an older system called Pocket Paragons, which came out about 5 years ago. I had never actually heard of it then, but they actually even got some licensing with the Acquisitions Incorporated. Had a pack out on that. I have to say, it isn't really for me, and I didn't much like the samurai game either. My son and I just weren't too really impressed with this. We got it to the table back actually at the end of July when he was down in Windsor. And we tried a few rounds. It's quick, it's straightforward, easy to learn, no arguments there. But until you start collecting more characters, it's just not enough of a game. Like 2 characters on their own, you're going to play it a few times and you're going to put it away and you're probably not going to take it out again for me, my money anyway. It's just too simple to really hold my attention without having multiple characters to learn and explore the differences between how this character plays against this character and such like that. As just the start of your deck, I would have trouble finding a reason to take it out again.
But it's only $5. That's a plus.
And honestly, the whole point is to give you the taste, right? This is the spend $5 and find out if you want to explore other characters and if you're into going deeper into that, because there is a core set that comes with multiple heroes. This is just, that first taste. And if you think this sounds cool, all right, check out the full box game. And then they already have at least 1 boxed expansion as well. My only complaint was I was not expecting a counter sheet, and there's nowhere to store those. So here I am at a fancy cafe with, cappuccino on the table and some carrot cake, and open this thing up. And I'm like, and I tore it. I wasn't very careful opening it. If I was at least careful, I'd have somewhere to throw them. And I'm like, now we have these counters and loose cards. Where do I put them to bring them home so they don't get damaged? Especially because I'm not going home. I'm next going out for dinner, and then we're going out to a musical. So
you had to be expecting loose cards.
Loose cards, yes. But I wasn't expecting counters, little tiny counters. They are very small, very thin paper, almost counters. I was not expecting it. Like, think of what you get in Lorcana. It's kind of the same problem. And I get it. CCG players have deck boxes and expect these things. I'm not much of a CCG player. Like, all I need is a deck box. I go to our friend's Quiver Time and be like, hey, can you send me a deck box to keep my massive stuff in? I just have to do that. And maybe one of those boxes with a little drawer to put the counters in. But it's just one of those that annoyed me because I was like, I'm in a coffee shop. What do I do with this now? Cards, I would have just tossed in the Hutan box. I didn't want to lose these little counters.
And just for record, it is $5 US. It is an $8 Canadian deck, or $36 for the box.
36 for the core set?
Yeah. Canadian.
Oh, that's not bad still. The only other game I played this week was Ascension Digital over some double pork poutine at Smokes, which first time going to Smokes. Anyone from Ottawa probably knows that chain. Even I played with the Storm of Souls set and its first expansion. Love that game, but man, no event came up far too long, so our phonetics were useless. I need to get a copy of Ascension at some point so we can start bringing it out to our events. And I'm actually kind of hyped because we're going to have an event at Hidden Trail, and I notice he's got a copy of Ascension. And I'm like, if I don't have anything to teach, I might need to sit down and play a game of Ascension.
I love Ascension. I'm so sad that we got rid of our copy because we should never have parted with it. Yeah, the digital one is okay. It's not bad, but I miss the physical game.
Yeah, I've
the problem with the digital one is when you have something key off that makes everyone else do something. It is so annoying when you're like, okay, everyone has to draw a card, and you got to pass the phone or whatever around. I drew a card.
It's not that bad with 2 players, but when we do pass and play with the kids, like we'll do that when we're sitting at a restaurant or somewhere and we have time to kill, and we'll play 4-player pass and play with the kids. And when you have to pass it around, I'm like, can I just draw a card for y'all?
See, that's fine. It's when you each get to banish a card from your hand. You still have to do that. And it's just like,
All right, well, that's what's happened at our tables lately. What about you? What's been on your table? Draft cards to place flowers to fill habitats, and grow trees to attract animals who help grow more flowers. And that's Hutan, Life in the Rainforest.
Hutan comes from the Op, who we have to thank for hooking us up with a review copy. Was designed by Asger Harding Greneau, Danielle Skold Penderson, and features artwork from the rather prolific Vincent Dutrait.
I suspect he's cloned or a robot. Man must never sleep. He makes so much art. Yes. This game plays 1 to 4 players, with games taking only about half an hour. It's great for ages 8 and up, maybe even younger if you're playing with the family rules, but it's engaging enough for players of heavier games to enjoy. In addition to the very accessible basic gameplay, there are some optional endgame scoring cards that really up the weight of the game and the number of decision spaces.
Hutan is a striking game in a smaller than usual board game box. It comes with a lot of cardboard, and there is some assembly required for the trees and the included box insert. The trees were a bit of a pain to punch out, and you may want to use some white glue on them, some if not all of them. Thankfully, the box insert is designed to hold them all assembled. Along with the cardboard trees, you get flowered tokens in 5 colors, nice chunky wooden animal tokens featuring silkscreen Dutrait artwork. The boards are 2-sided, the rulebook is clear and concise.
So gameplay in Hutan Life in the Rainforest is very straightforward. Each game is played over 9 rounds. Each round, players will take 2 actions, drafting a card and placing the flowers on the card, or grabbing the first player token and placing any choice of color of flower. These cards, when you draft them, have 2, 3, or a wildflower symbol on them. And players take the tokens that are on the cards and then have to place them onto habitats on their boards, trying to stick to it so that there's 1 flower color per habitat if they can. Now, when 2 flowers of the same color are placed on top of each other, the top flower is replaced by a tree, which is worth 2 points.
Habitats that are filled completely with 1 color of flowers score points at the end of the game based on how large the filled-in space is. And the ones that aren't complete, or which feature multiple different flower types, will instead lose you points based on their size.
If a player completes a perfect habitat, where all the flowers are the same color and every spot has been upgraded to trees, they attract an animal, replacing that last tree. If available, you place an animal of the appropriate color, matching the flowers beneath. Animals produce fertilizer, letting you place a flower on each space orthogonally adjacent to it, and growing trees and potentially attracting more animals. Animals are worth significant points based on how big a habitat they are in, but animals are a limited resource.
Now, what makes this placement interesting are the rules for placing the flowers. Each time you take a card, you have to place all flowers on that card. Not only that, those flowers must be placed so they're touching each other orthogonally, and they must also be connected to growth that's already on your board, with their new flowers being placed next to or on top of existing flowers or trees. And you have to place all the flowers in the card if you take it, and you must take a card if you can place. So no matter what, you're going to be placing something, even if you don't have anywhere good to put it. Sometimes messing up your strategies. And it can lead also to some fun hate drafting, where you make sure to leave a player a card that they don't really want.
The 4 boards in the game also mess with things, as 3 of your 4 boards have lakes on them, which are spots that you cannot place flowers. These player boards are two-sided and can be rotated any way, making for a ton of possible combinations and leading to lots of replayability.
The game ends once all the cards have been drafted. Players score points for their trees, their animals, their completed habitats they have, and then lose points for their incomplete or mixed habitats.
Now, Hutan Life in the Rainforest also includes advanced rules, which feature a deck of ecosystem goal cards. At the start of the game, you draw 5 cards, and each presents a new scoring option for all of the players. This includes all kinds of things like having trees on the edge of your board, having an animal on each board, picking a color and getting points for every completed area of that color, and more.
There's also a set of family rules that give you a more forgiving experience. With these rules, you don't fertilize when you attract an animal, and you don't subtract any points at the end of the game for incomplete or mixed up habitats.
Next up, Hutan includes a set of solo rules. When playing solo, you draft one of 3 flower cards each round, aiming to get the top score following all the normal rules. Simple enough.
Finally, the op has gone above and beyond in the area of replayability with a set of achievements that are the second half of the rulebook. There are 50 of these, and these are earned while playing through various scenarios, challenges, and modifications. And the rulebook actually has a spot for 3 players to put their name and track their overall achievements, which is pretty cool. And I think on their website you can download more. I would just use a spreadsheet or something else.
So scenarios give you preset board layouts, a set of 5 specific ecosystem cards, and a minimum score target to hit. They work at all player counts. You pick a scenario before you play.
Unlike scenarios, the achievements can be earned in any game. After or while playing, look at the list and tick off any that you accomplish. The list includes things like having a set number of trees, scoring X points for animals, winning while having the fewest trees, etc., etc.
Now lastly, we have modules. These present changes to the core rules of the game, and there are 10 of these to try. They range from removing the fertilize action to increasing the card stack so that players take 3 actions each round.
Yeah, it's actually really impressive the number of varieties and ways they've been like, hey, try the game this way, try it like this. Can you play and get a score of over 100? I have no idea how you would do that. One nice touch too in the thing, just getting to our topic of nature tonight, nature games, is an actual overview of the various wildlife in the game, what the various animals are, what the graphics represent, and what each real life flower, each flower token represents. I thought that was pretty cool. And the trees, it actually lists what the different types of trees are.
They did a great job of trying to represent actual wildlife. The animals in particular are very realistic looking and not cartoony at all. The trees, they could have just given you one type of tree. They gave you multiple types of trees. It's all very cool. And the replayability with the scenarios and all of that, it's wild.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to talk about in this smaller box, and one thing we've said before, but is quite important here, punch your game before you try to play it the first time. You will be putting in a big delay starting if you try and punch and play this all at one sitting.
Yeah, this was one of those, I had a day planned with my youngest kid, and I'm like, I'm going to bring the game with us and punch it at the coffee shop. And I'm like, no, let's open it up here. And I'm like, we lost half an hour of our day punching out these silly trees. It was the trees in particular. Yes, there's all the tokens and everything else. One thing to be aware of is I did not see any instructions on how to build the box insert at first. It's on the back of the thin piece of card. We didn't realize it until I was halfway through assembling it as best I could based on a picture on the internet. Before I realized, oh, they're the instructions. So do watch for that.
And you were looking everywhere in that box. You're like, there has to be instructions here somewhere. I'm looking through the rule book trying to find it for you. And yeah, there was a little bit of frustration there.
They're there. It's on this card that you slide into the spot that holds the flower tokens. So one of the things that I think is very cool about this game is that replayability, but also the number of things that you can do to modify the basic gameplay to change it to be the kind of game you like. Just last week on our last episode, we were talking about how much I like games with tiles like this, where I can modify it. And I think that's just very cool. And I love how much replayability this adds to the game. It keeps it fresh after multiple plays. And honestly, I was shocked when I got past the rules and saw solo play and saw the achievement section. When I first read the rule book, read the basic rules, played the game, then went back to make sure we didn't play extreme. And I'm like, oh, I thought the second half of the book was all solo play. No, solo play is one paragraph. All this is this achievement section. Like, I've seen achievements in games. I always think it's kind of cool. I know Stonemaier is famous for doing them. I don't think I've ever seen a game with 50 different achievements to achieve.
It just geeks me out somehow, like these video game style achievements to check off. I really dig it.
So this game is sitting in a fantastic spot for me and my tastes. It's got that beer and pretzel feel while still being a game you need to spare some thought for. Sure, you can chat and laugh between turns, but when you draw a card, you're going to be focusing on where the heck you can put those 3 flowers for longer and longer as the game progresses.
I don't know. This is a feel right game. Like, it just feels right. Like, I don't know. It just feels good. It's the actions you're taking, the decision space, the play time seems about perfect. The amount of take that, it just all feels right to me. Like, I play this and one of the members of my older gaming group, Tom Barker, comes in my head and says, yep, that's a good game there. Because that's something Tom would say when he really enjoyed a game and it just like clicked for him. This game just works. I like this game. It clicks.
I totally agree. Everything about this game just makes sense, and it just feels right. And that nice short playtime leaves me wanting to fit in at least 2 rounds in a sitting.
Now, this is, as we talk about how much we love this game, where I'm learning that the board game industry has a weird sort of problem happening. And it's a problem that I'm kind of part of, and that's Board Game Arena. So this game, like many these days, is available digitally. But as with many, if not most of the games there, it's simply not the same experience as playing a physical copy of a board game. I am seeing a lot of reviewers and commenters on this game who have only played it solo digitally on Board Game Arena. And frankly, they haven't played the game, and their reviews indicate it. They are doing the actual game of Hutan a real disservice.
And I kind of wonder about this one. Like, Sean and I talked about this for a bit, and honestly, it'd be an interesting topic maybe we can cover sometime, is how much having a digital edition actually helps a publisher. Like, I do know for a fact that having your game on Board Game Arena does sell physical copies. I know many people who have bought a game after playing it digitally, and I've done it. I played a game on Board Game Arena. I'm like, this is good. I got to go get this. But what you don't see and what you don't hear about are the number of people who play it on Board Game Arena, don't like it, and then might have bought it before. Like, we're interested in the game, try it, and like, oh, that was a bad experience, so stop. And I actually wonder if Board Game Arena driven sales outweigh the turnoffs, the people who don't go and buy it.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this could be an episode topic on its own. And I know we have played games that we have discovered it is not a good place to learn a game.
Yes.
It just isn't. It can be a really great place to go back and play a game that you already know, or maybe sit down with someone that knows a game and have them walk you through it, but not to just sit down, follow the instructions and learn a game is somehow lacks in the same experience at a real table, right? So I don't know. It's a topic. And then games that suck digitally, that's a topic too. But I feel bad knowing that folks are testing out games like Hutan for a first play on Board Game Arena. And I get it. It's like a free or low cost way to test a game instead of going out and buying it, right? But they're being turned off from what is really a great game when you play it in person. So that's a shame.
Yeah, especially when you've got a game that has this real physicality to it. And part of the physicality, or part of the game and understanding the game and the making sense of it, is the physicality of watching those trees grow into, or the plants or flowers grow into trees and attracting an animal, which from what I'm understanding, the complaints are you don't get that experience on the digital.
Well, I haven't tried it digital. My first play wasn't digital. It was at a cafe, and I introduced it to our youngest kid, and we were both hooked, like, instantly. Like, we're playing it, and it's one of those when you're playing, you're like, oh, this is neat. Oh, this is clever. Oh, wait, okay, that's cool. Now I understand why this rule exists. And while we played 5 games in a row, I can't think of the last game I personally played 5 times in a row that wasn't like, oh, we have to get this review out by September 19th. We better play it this weekend. Looking at you, Draconis Invasion, where we played, I think, 13 games in a row. Or a game, or like a super light party game, like Kiss the Goblin. I think I played like 12 times in a row the first time I played it. We played 5 times in a row because we were enjoying it. And honestly, we might have played more if we had more time. And my daughter has some disabilities, learning disabilities. And the fact that it held her attention for 5 games is also saying something.
Yeah, we played back to back at a breakfast joint, and it didn't feel like it was overstaying its welcome at all. It plays quickly enough that we weren't, feeling guilty for sitting down and hogging the table.
So I'm not implying that this is a game that's great to play at restaurants.
No, it takes up a lot of room. We happen to have a great local breakfast spot that doesn't mind us staying around and drinking coffee for a couple of hours after we finish our breakfast. So it's just something we have a nice situation nearby. Now, what I think is up for debate, and we all disagree on this somewhat, or at least have our own opinions, is what's better. The basic game of Hutan with just growing the animals and, planting the flowers, growing trees and placing animals, or the advanced game with the goals. I definitely preferred the goals. To me, I'm like, okay, now this game's a game. Like before it was neat, it was a fun diversion. Here's a family weight game, maybe play it with kids. But now I've got a real game here where I can use long-term strategy and plan ahead and have to make decisions and hard decisions. Do I go for that card or that card? And I got to say the reviews and posts I was seeing online, not on Board Game Geek, I leave that to Sean to check out, with many people saying that if you're playing this game with gamers, just put them in the first time. Like that's the real game, play with the real game. Now I wouldn't go that far. I still say play the basic game, especially with how quick it is. That first game goes by nice and quick. And by the end of it, you picked it up. And I like onboarding in my games. I teach games basically for a living. And I love seeing that onboarding of here's the basic game. Now that you got it, now we're going to throw in a new piece. So I still recommend trying the basic game first. Don't try to overwhelm people.
Yeah, this really surprised me, like frankly shocked me, because I normally prefer heavier games. And while there's nothing wrong with the advanced rules where you have endgame scoring cards in play, I think I actually prefer the base game. And it's a game where you can sit down and have a chat and have this nice distraction that you're playing a game, but you're not so invested that you need to keep close attention. Like it'd be a great date night game or go out and have some pints with friends. Like, and simultaneously, there's not enough downtime between turns to wander away either physically or mentally from the game. You're not tempted to take out your phone. The rounds are quick. It all just flows. And I just liked the base game better, which is really weird for me.
Yeah, while I agree that the goals certainly add a level to the game and make it more gamery, I think the feeling I had is that they don't take it far enough. They don't make it into Azul, which some people have sort of indicated or suggested comparisons with. They just take away from that easy playing beer and pretzel feel, forcing you to pay more attention to the game as opposed to that, conversational level. Otherwise, I don't hate them, and I would never not play with them. I just don't think you need them.
No, that's exactly it. Like I feel like the advanced rules just don't add enough to make it worth the added attention span needed. And the decision points, there's additional decision points, but I'm not finding them very entertaining decision points in some fashion.
Fair. I'm still on the lines of play your first game without him, toss him in the second game. But it'll be interesting as we share this game with other local gamers and our extended family and see what other people's opinions are on those. And you'll be able to catch that in future Bellhop's tabletop segments of our podcast. Now, one thing I thought was interesting in this game, and it's kind of odd, and it was I really saw this when looking at other people talking about the game, is that this game is a weird mix of multiplayer solitaire where you can just draft cards and focus on your own board and be sitting there and planning ahead, and hate drafting and trying to be nasty. Like on one hand, you can just look at your own thing. And I got to say, gameplay is super quick that way, right? Like while a player is grabbing a card, while you're placing your flowers, the next player can be grabbing a card. And while that person's playing a flower, they can grab their card and you can almost like just kind of play with your heads down almost. But then hate drafting can definitely be a thing. If you look at your opponent's board, and are like, hey, if you take a red and blue, you don't have red and blue near each other at all. This is going to screw you over. Or you're going to have a hard time placing a specific set, possibly ruining a big habitat. Like, oh, the only place you can place that last card's there. That's going to totally ruin that big 6 square habitat. It can be very worth making it sure that that player gets that card. And I kind of feel like you can play the game two ways. You can either play casually or cutthroat, and each leads to a different experience. What I'm worried about is if you get a mixed group, if you have someone playing super cutthroat and someone just sitting there paying attention to their own stuff, I think the scores are going to be very different from each other.
Definitely, yeah. You can just mind your business and play multiplayer solitaire, or you can pay attention to what other people are planting on their islands and really screw people over. You can guess which option I prefer. I had a thought and I want to make sure I mention it. I tend to only mention when games upset me visually and I have a hard time with them. This game was just easy to play. It was easy on my eyes. It was easy to see across the table. The only part I struggled with was there's these little icons in the corner that are circles and squares that are colored, and each of us has to have the same player board setup or a scenario board setup. And trying to look across the table and see what icons were on Sean's board to match them on these double-sided boards was a pain in the butt. But we could have made it easier by someone just calling it out to me and saying, hey, you need to have the white circle in the upper left-hand corner. There's no reason that had to be visually challenging. This game is just super easy to play if you have some vision problems like I do.
Yeah, I think, interestingly, the mixed player thing, I'm not sure is actually a problem, because I think if you're sitting head down and playing single player solitaire, there's a good chance that you have more open options to place and you have more ability to place flowers, so that you are actually less likely to be injured by someone hate drafting for you because you don't care as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, overall, I'm really impressed by Hutan. Like it feels like an op game, family weight, but with enough meat on it to keep me interested. To me, that's what I expect from the op. Plus, it also has those nice ways to tweak it, so you can up the complexity for the hobby gamers, or even the heavy gamers who just want a beer and pretzel game and actually enjoy the pure experience without the goals. Both works. I totally see playing the base game with kids and family. I think this is going to be massive at our public play events. This might be one of our most popular games. We'll see. But I also really enjoy the added strategy of using the scoring cards. This is one of those games where I am going to decide, do I leave them or take them out of the box based on who I'm playing with.
Yeah, and the fact that even beyond having the cards added in or out, you have that family weight level to make it extra simple for if you want to play with younger kids, I think is a great addition. I love that the game has ways to fine tune the difficulty level. And that's neat that that's something that we're seeing more often in games now.
Yeah, so because of that, being able to tune, I think this game's got some universal appeal. Not every group should have it. Not every game is for everyone, and that's awesome. But as long as you like abstract strategy games, I think you're going to dig Hutan. Like, this isn't an engine building Euro, though you are trying to do chain reactions with the animals. And it's also not a like super thematic game, and there's no like output randomness where you're rolling to see what happens. The fun movements in this game involve pulling off combos, especially if you can get a thing where you're like, I place this flower, and this flower that gives me this tree that lets me push this animal that lets me put this flower, which gives me a tree. And then on this side, that gives me another animal. And you set up a big chain. That's very rewarding. It feels awesome. The scoring more completed habitats than you lose, to me, is always a personal goal. And it's always some of the most fun when I'm writing down everyone's score. It's like, all right, you scored 26, but how many did you lose? I actually really enjoy that moment of figuring that out. I love figuring out the perfect way to place a 3-flower card. Like, that's one of my, every time I play, I try to grab those 3-flower cards. I love it when you're like, oh, wait, that's going to be awesome, and figuring out that way. And then there's something that's just odd about collecting trees. I think probably because of the most visual thing on the boards, where like I always feel good if I have more trees than anyone else, even if that's not giving me the best score. It's like, I have more trees than you. And I got to say that the hate drafting can be fun. Like, when you really screw someone over, it's that feeling in Azul where you got the public pool in the middle and there's a pile of like 8 different tokens on there and they can only fit 2. It's that same feeling sometimes when you're like, yep, I have ruined 3 of your habitats by making you take that card. I feel good.
Tree placing is oddly satisfying. And I remember the first game we played, I'm like, I placed 11 trees and I set them off to the side and I went, well, now that's my personal goal, to see if I can get all 11 of them out the next game. And I'm like, oh, this time I got 12. Yes. And I mean, speaking of oddly satisfying, there's that part where you get to check off achievements. Like, that's a fun moment right there. Overall, this is just a solid game. I thought it was going to be too light for me, and then it turns out I prefer the light version of the rules. So go figure. If you have the chance, I highly recommend trying this one out.
So it's time to leave the rainforest behind and wrap up this review of Hutan, Life in the Rainforest, another family weight game that hobby gamers will also dig from the op.
Yeah, we love games we can enjoy with the kids, with the extended family, and the locals just starting to explore the world of hobby board games. And Hutan's going to be great for all of those groups. We like to call these style of games welcoming games, right? And I want to know from you what your favorite welcoming games are. What games do you like to break out to introduce new people to the hobby or hobby board gaming?
Let us know in the comments, send us an email, reach out on social media, or better yet, post something over on our Discord at discord.tabletopbellhop.com.
Take on the role of a team of gnomes, build fairy rings out of mushrooms, pluck the shrooms and sell them to the market for trinkets, as well as grow your collection of wildflowers in Gnome Hollow.
This tile-laying game comes from the brilliant mind of Amon Anderson and features his amazing watercolor artwork, along with supplemental art from Patrick Spaziante. It was published to much fanfare last year by The Op, who we do have to thank for hooking us up with a review copy of the game and the Gnome Hollow upgrade kit along with it.
Gnome Hollow is a welcoming game for 2 to 4 players. It plays an hour to an hour and a half, depending on player AP and on which side of the player boards you're using. While the box lists it as ages 12 plus, we think some younger kids will also enjoy this Fae-themed board game.
Gnome Hollow is a striking game in many ways, and not just due to Amon's watercolors. This game features something we've never seen before: magnetic playing boards and wooden playing pieces, a step above dual layer boards. The rest of the quality is up there as well, with easy to read hexagonal lines, cute cardboard potted wildflowers, wooden silkscreen gnomes, each of which is unique, colorful cardboard mushrooms, trinkets, and first player token, wooden silkscreen signposts, and other stuff we're probably forgetting. All of this comes in a perfectly serviceable plastic insert.
Yeah, component quality here is really good. Like, this is just a great looking game that really catches people's attention, especially once the game is in progress and people have started to make mushroom rings. Now, since we are talking about components right now, I do want to mention the upgrade kit. This includes wooden versions of the mushrooms and trinket tokens, as well as a wooden version of all the wildflowers. There's also a much larger wooden chunky first player marker. The mushrooms, though, are the highlight here. The mushrooms in this upgrade are awesome. They are really nice. They feel good in your hands.
I love the upgrade components. They're gorgeous, but honestly, the standard components in the game are gorgeous and are like a really nice thick cardboard. They're just a decent quality. We also want to call attention to the rule book. It's designed like a field guide, as if it were written by someone who discovered that gnomes exist. And it features quite a bit of backstory on gnomes in general, on the types of mushrooms that they're growing, the wildflowers you find in the game, and on each specific gnome character. Like, the entire thing is just rather delightful.
So in Gnome Hollow, each player takes on the role of a team of 2 gnomes who are competing to see who is the best mushroom gardener. Scoring points for how many mushroom rings they complete, the value of the trinkets they collect, and how large their wildflower collection is.
So each term in Gnome Hollow, the active player selects 2 hexagonal mushroom path tiles and then places them into a central shared field that starts off with just a large tree stump on it. Each tile will show 1 to 3 paths on it, and you, of course, have to connect the paths so that they all link up properly, with the goal to make rings of different tile sizes.
Now, whenever a ring gets completed, if you have a gnome on the ring, you immediately collect 1 of each mushroom type that is shown on the ring. If there's no gnome on the ring, the mushrooms are placed in the middle of the ring. And next you move a ring marker from the top of your player board and you place it on one of the spots on the column that matches the size of the ring. If that column is already filled, you still get the mushrooms, but you don't get to move the ring marker.
Now, each ring marker moved increases your endgame score as shown on the player board, and many of the spots give you bonuses like taking mushrooms, taking a mushroom tile from the market to use in a later turn, collecting an uncollected wildflower, or placing a signpost. The signpost goes into the newly completed ring, and you get whatever is shown on it as a reward for building it.
So the other thing that can happen when you're moving a ring marker, and it's pretty much, I think, every other time you're removing a ring marker, you unlock a wildflower. You take the wildflower tile of your choice based on the colors that are left, and you're going to take a matching wildflower in a pot that gets placed at the top of your board, and that represents your personal collection of wildflowers. The remaining flower pots are added to the market for players to claim later. The wildflower tile, you can hold on to it and then use it on a later turn. So instead of placing 2 tiles, you can place 3. But they kind of act as like a wild card. Without showing it to you, it's a little hard to describe. But like basically the entire tile is covered in mushrooms, and it can be used to complete multiple rings with 1 play.
After you resolve any completed rings, you now have the option to move one of your gnomes to take one of 4 actions. The first option is claiming a mushroom path, which means you're going to get the mushrooms on it if it's completed. And now, if anyone else wants to add to that path, they're going to need your permission. You can also claim a mushroom ring that is already completed, and that's going to have mushrooms sitting in the middle of it, which are just waiting for you to collect them.
The next option is to send a gnome to the flower market. You get to select one of the wildflowers pots that you do not already own and place it on top of your player board.
Now, signposts that get played by other players when they're moving off their tokens become like a worker placement spot. You can move your worker to a signpost, and then you get what's shown on that sign.
The final action is to visit the pinwheel market, where you get to trade in sets of mushrooms for trinkets. Each type of mushroom has a different value, and you get more points in trinkets the more you trade in at once. In each trip, you can only make 2 trades, and only 2. In general, once a group of mushrooms is traded in, then no one else can trade in that exact same number of that exact same mushroom type ever again.
This continues with players placing tiles, completing rings, collecting rewards, and then moving gnomes until a player collects their 8th wildflower, they move their 8th ring marker, or the bag runs out of tiles.
Players look at their player board, collect the points shown below the last wildflower they collected, above the last empty ring marker they moved, and add that to the value shown to their collected trinket collection. Gnome team with the most points wins.
In addition to these standard rules, the op has included 2 variant play options. The first is a mushroom trading board. Anytime a gnome visits a signpost, they can then immediately trade the mushrooms that they're going to get from that sign for a different reward based on what's shown on the mushroom trading board.
Then there's the advanced player board, which allows players to build 1 ring of each size in any shape, but then requires players to build additional rings in very specific shapes in order to move their ring markers. This board requires a lot of strategy and planning and leads to more cutthroat play as players try to stop other players from completing the patterns they need.
I hope that made things sound as straightforward as they are. Like, Gnome Hollow is not a hard game to learn. Like, your place tiles, get rewards, take an action. That's it. It just kind of flows. It goes around the table rather quick. While there are a few idiosyncrasies in the tile placement rules, you shouldn't overthink it. Like, if you actually get to a rule question and you think if something's allowed or not, just go with the version where you get the biggest reward, or yes, you get the mushrooms. You're probably doing it right. This is supposed to be a fun game about gnomes collecting mushrooms.
Yeah, referring to those idiosyncrasies, this is a medium-light game. If you're scouring the forums for how to handle a specific edge case ring closure ruling, you're overthinking it. We did, and we were.
Yeah, we really bogged it down the one day, and we did not need to. Like, definitely overthinking it. This is a simple, fun, medium-ish game. Do not make it more complex than it needs to be. You're just going to waste time finding the rule that says, yes, go ahead and play.
Yes. And that's just, wildflowers make rings. So don't worry about multiple rings. They just work. They're wild. They count as part of any ring. In the middle, at the end, 2 touching each other, sure, it's a ring. Now, what the cute theme and pretty straightforward rules don't tell you, and which you won't really see until you actually sit down and play, is how deep the mycelia goes in Gnome Hollow, how deep the roots are. This is one of those gateway games. Like, you can teach and get people playing. Like, they can have 0 modern board gaming experience and be able to play this game. But it actually has a lot of depth and variable and valid strategies. Like, while learning the game and showing off to people and playing it repeatedly with the same groups, there's a lot of eureka moments where people will catch ways to set up combos. So, like, I complete the ring that lets me move this thing that gives me this bonus that lets me move my thing here to trade this mushroom to be able to get this. And you're going to start figuring out things like long-term strategies. And honestly, there is actually a learning curve to making the rings. You're like, at first you're like, man, I'm wandering everywhere. And then you start to realize the biggest ring possible is not the right option in this game. Often completing smaller rings is more important, and rings that are too big are actually not worth any more than rings that are smaller. And all of that's really neat. And I found that journey really enjoyable. And actually, I like teaching this to a new group and kind of watching their brains work as they play the game and kind of discover some of this through play.
I love that moment where all the tile options just suddenly click in, and you're like, making rings isn't hard at all. Why was I having a hard time with this before? Just lay the mushrooms down.
I really do love the look of this game. I love the way it attracts people when it's set up. This is what are you playing? That looks interesting game, right? That often draws a crowd in. So it's weird because when the game's just sitting on a table with a bunch of other games, a lot of people just kind of skip over it and look over it. And I think it's the kind of cartoony look. Like I love Amon's art, but like this doesn't look like a game that anyone who's into hobby heavy games is going to pick up and start playing. I love the cover with the gnome with his big red nose. But then once you get it out and people are playing it, you see the player boards and you see all the pile of trinkets and the piles of mushrooms and the board evolving. People are like, okay, now I want to try that. And this is one where people will often say, okay, can I play that when they bring it back? Or we've actually had people say, hey, can you bring that next month? Because I want to try it next time.
And when it's sitting on the table, it has a kid game look to it. Something about the box just says kid game, and it is not a kid game. It's a family weight game. You can play it. It's a family weight game, but there's a lot more meat on its bones.
And honestly, it's a little heavy on the family weight scale.
Mm-hmm.
This is a medium weight game.
Now, a big draw of this game, of course, is the components. And I got to say, like Deanna mentioned, the base game components are great. We were sent the upgrade kit. It's nice, but no way necessary. You got to really like this game, I think, to justify that price. Sorry, up. Like the gnomes and side posts are already wood and silk screen. Though I do love the mushrooms. The mushrooms are really nice. They feel really great, and they're actually like a bigger graphic than the cardboard. Is like they took the graphic and stretched it to the edge and made it wood. But then the cardboard trinkets, they didn't do that. And honestly, like they're thin wood instead of thick. And I don't know why. They're like 1/3 the thickness of the mushrooms. And they didn't blow up the graphics. Like honestly, I have a hard time telling the wooden ones to the cardboard ones apart on the table. Yes, when I touch them, they feel nice and they clink a little better. And while the super thick first player token like is superfluous, like I really don't need that component.
So I have to apologize because the op did not send us this. I bought you this for Christmas last year. I bought you the upgrade kit because we were enjoying Gnome Hollow so much, and I happened to find it on sale somewhere. So I'm like, I don't know. I wasted money. Nah, it's still cool.
All right, so correct that up at the top of the review where we say the op sent that. That's right. I'm sorry. I apologize. I forgot.
So one thing I see a lot of people saying about this game, and I kind of see their point of view, is that there's a few too many pieces tacked onto this game. If they had left it a fun family weight game with about gnomes building rings and turning in toadstools or mushrooms for trinkets, this would be amazing family weight welcoming game for all levels of gamers. But once you get into the signposts, the flowers, the wildflowers, without even including any of the advanced options, this feels a little bit much as a welcoming for that welcoming level of game. And this is a tough part of the market for games. If you're too easy, gamers hate you. But if you get too hard, then the casual gamers won't touch it. And this feels like a sort of an awkward place in the market.
I don't know. I think it's in a pretty sweet spot. It's a little bit on the heavier end of welcoming games. Like it's just a solid medium weight-ish sort of thing.
I kind of wish there were family rules, like literally just build circles and collect mushrooms. Whoever has the most mushrooms at the end of the game wins. Maybe that doesn't work with the tile distribution in the games or something, but like I kind of feel like that would be a nice option. Like we were just talking about another game from the op, Hutan, that has a family edition where it's like, okay, here's just the base game. Don't worry about these negative points or negative interactions. It'd be kind of nice to do that. Like I can totally see, well, again, you can't toss out you'd have to toss out the whole player board if you toss out the signposts, right? Like it would be hard to modify it. But if you just played a game where you're just literally just put tiles and collect the mushrooms that make circles, you don't even need gnomes. There's no moving gnomes. That'd probably be a solid game. I like it. Like I am not new to board games. I haven't been new to board games for many, many years. So maybe I'm not great at judging what's a great gateway game, but there's just something about this one I like. I dig path building games. I am a fan of Suro. San Francisco Cable Car, I think, is fantastic. And I've been sharing the love of Indigo as a hidden gem for years. Actually, finally now back in print with another name, which I think it's Butterfly Garden. I just like that system of tiles and making paths and cutting people off. And I just dig that. And I like how the tiles line up in this game. Like the patterns are well done. And one of those bits of emergent gameplay is you eventually realize like the purple, the most expensive mushroom in the game, is only on a straight, which means it's really hard to close off that circle because going straight does not make for a good circle. I dig that. I like the math that went into these tiles, and I have fun building the patterns. Though I have the same problem many people do when they first start playing. I don't want to only stop at 7 because anything more than 7 is not worth more points. I want to build a 12 section ring and get a reward for it.
There does seem to be something. There's something there about I want to be able to build a giant ring and there be a reward for that. There's just something about trying to hook up these two terrible long paths that everyone has cut off. I want to do it even as just a personal goal, even though I know I'm going to sewer my game, which I think I actually did the one time. I'm like, well, I'm not winning this game, but I've got a mission.
Yeah, one of the things that we mentioned, but I don't know if we really focused on, is the fact that you do need to ask permission to block. You cannot actually actively get in someone's way and stop them from playing. There are permission rules in the game to make it that a little extra bit of lighter weight and take away some of that competition.
Well, you can't build on someone else's path with permission. You can surround their tiles with tiles that will be very difficult to find a match for.
Mm-hmm.
And that you don't need permission for. I find you can be pretty nasty in this game, even though you normally do have to ask for permission.
One of the things I found sort of quirky here is when you add in those additional rules for the mushroom market, but is that what it's called?
The trading?
The trading. I found it actually made the game easier and the scores much higher. I expected it to add difficulty to the game, but to me it actually felt like it was easier to make big sets and trade in massive sets because now there was a way to trade it. And it felt tighter without the market, and that seemed backwards.
Yeah, that is listed as an advanced rule, but it led to higher scores. I don't know. To me, it's advanced because it's giving you more options, more things to think about.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I think it's easier to complete sets. But then it shifts the competition from building rings to trying to complete the sets, which is actually one of the things I really like in this game is the economy. The economy in this game is neat. Like the mushrooms have different value, and well, especially that rule that you can't sell the same numbered set in again. When we describe the rules, it said general, and what it is so many of them get blocked. By the end of the game, there's always 2 to 4 different types you can hand in, but like only one person's going to hand in 8 purples, which is the most money in the game, and only one person's going to hand in 7 purples, and so on. And there's this, I like the thought process and the watching other people, how many mushrooms they have, how many mushrooms they have, oh, what rings are they harding? Okay, if they finish that ring, they're going to get this, and trying to time that, get to the market before someone else does. And I like that. I think it's a very neat economy. Now, I also like the level of competition in this game because of the market and the rings and the potential of making it difficult for someone to complete a ring, I'll say, instead of cutting off, because you can't really cut off, is that it keeps you engaged when it's not your turn. Because you're worried someone's going to take that tile you need out of the market. Because you're like, all I need is a short curve. There's only one on the board. Don't take it. Don't take it. And you're sitting there going, don't take it. Don't take it. Or someone plays next to you and like, where are they going to play? Where are they going to play? I hope they don't play over here. If they play over here, it's going to cut me off. And then the whole mushroom collecting, right? Like, am I going to get to the market before? Are they going to use their second action to go to the market? Or are they going to use their second action to go grab that wildflower that's the last one they need? I find that the game has a lot of interaction for a, one central map that everyone's adding to it type of game.
Yeah, and that rule where you can't directly mess with someone's ring without their permission is sort of what keeps it family weight and stops people from actually punching each other out at the table. But this game is miles away from multiplayer solitaire.
Honestly, there's not a lot I don't like in this game. It can go a bit long, even with 3 players, but especially with 4. Definitely at 4. Trying to build specific patterns can be surprisingly hard. It takes a bit to kind of learn what the different patterns are and what you can do with them to make different shapes. And I got to say, the second side of the player boards is only for select few groups. Like the complexity level, that's a step up. That's like getting in an elevator and going up a bit. This is also a game where your big plan can get ruined pretty easily by another player, which makes planning ahead hard and another disadvantage at the higher player counts. Though I got to say, like, basically what I just listed is kind of like the problem with any Euro game. And I don't find any of it's like egregious. Like I will play Gnome Hollow at 4. I'd rather play at 4 than exclude someone and say, oh no, 3-player only game.
It's definitely a game where you need to be adapting to what the other players are doing. Again, like I said, not multiplayer solitaire.
So as Mo was mentioning, and just echoed by many other, is the ideal player count. I was not surprised to see that 4 players is resoundingly not recommended on Board Game Geek. And having played it at that count, I tend to agree. The sweet spot for this game is at 3 players. That is resoundingly stated by, agreed to on by everyone. 3 players is the sweet spot for this game. There's not too much downtime, and yet there's enough competition and thoughtfulness going on at that player count.
I will note, actually, Deanna and I played it a couple times at 2 players, and I actually liked it at 2 as well. It was very cutthroat, though. Now, I do want to call one thing out that I've seen a number of people try to compare this game to Carcassonne. Just don't. This is actually way closer to the path-making games I mentioned before than Carc to me. Yes, it has tiles, and yes, you're trying to complete patterns. But the big difference is, like Sean called out, the in Carc, you are trying to steal other people's stuff. That is a huge part of playing Carcassonne well. Not everyone plays that way, but that is a big part of playing Carcassonne. And that's not even allowed here. Like, yes, you can make things difficult for other players, but you can't cut them off. Now, in comparison to those other path games I mentioned, though, this is definitely a step up in weight. I think it's a welcome step up in weight. And I think this is a great suggestion for people who just enjoy path building games in general. So overall, is this a great welcoming game? Yes, but it's like right on the border. It's so close to a welcoming game and a next step game. If you've got some board gaming experience, you played games with markets before, a set collection, you're good to go. You'll be able to pick this up really well. Like, the rules are super easy. I think I can sit down with non-gamers and get them to understand the game. But being able to play it well and be able to take care of all of the different moving parts and all the things you have to think about, this game has a rather large decision space. It's surprisingly deep, as I said earlier. This will be too much for some groups. At the same time, there's another group of players who's going to be like, this game doesn't have enough meat to it. I need more complexity. This isn't a real market. I need the prices to vary based on how many mushrooms were sold last turn. So it's hard to tell you exactly who this game is for. All I will say is that, like, Gnome Hollow somehow is not as complicated as it looks, while being more complicated than it looks, depending on your personal experience level and what you're looking for games. And I hope that's useful. I hope that makes sense. People relatively new to hobby gaming should dig this, but so should people who generally don't play light tile laying games. The second side of the player board's there for that group. Heck, you could probably even mix a group, and I think this would be an interesting experiment where you have a bunch of new or casual players playing with experience, people who love heavy thinky games and planning ahead, where the one set of players is on one player board and the other set's on the more difficult flip side.
And don't dismiss this because it looks cutesy or looks like a kid's game. And also, don't sit down and think you're going to be playing this with very young children, because it will not be a fun experience.
Well, I think that wraps up this review. It's time to put a mushroom ring on it and move on.
There are a ton of different tile laying games out there. What's one of your favorites? Tell us all about it. Find us over on the Discord at tabletopbellhop.com/Discord.
Well, that was the double bell.
That means our shift's coming to an end, and we're going to have to put the campfire out and bed down into our tents for the night and enjoy this beautiful sky.
Before we start locking things down and putting out the fire, let's take a moment to thank a selection of our Tabletop Bellhop Patreon patrons, all of whom are awesome. Donna, well, thank you, Pax.
Evil John, we love you, even though you're evil.
Brian Kurtz, I'm pretty sure we've got some mushrooms left over here. Mushrooms. Wow. I wanted to say marshmallows. I was trying to go with the camping thing, but too many gnomes on my mind.
Apparently too many mushrooms there. Chris Leary, thank you.
Toss another gnome on the fire. Let's finish this up. All right, Dave Hutchinson. Thank you, Dave.
Diane Tuzino. Thanks, Di.
Well, this episode is wrapping up. You can always find us at tabletopbellhop.com, all over the web. It's Tabletop Bellhop, one word. Be sure to subscribe on your podcatcher of choice and set us on auto download so you never miss an episode. While you're there, be sure to leave us a review.
Questions. We love questions. We can always use more questions. Send us your questions. Questions at tabletopbellhop.com. Go to the website, click on Ask the Bellhop. Find us on social media, where you can be found everywhere as Tabletop Bellhop, one word. Send us a DM, send us a message, post something on our Discord at tabletopbellhop.com. We probably need a link tree we can drop right here so everyone can find all the places we are. But you know what? If you Google Tabletop Bellhop, you'll find us.
And we all hate the algorithm, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do to be seen. So help us out this week. by appealing our bot overlords and give our content a thumbs up, a like, a heart emoji, or whatever it is you do on the site that you just found us. And that would be a cool way to say thank you.
That's all for us tonight.
For the Tabletop Bellhop Gaming Podcast, I'm Sean.
I'm Deanna.
And I'm Mo.
Thank you.
And
And
game on.